We have a couple of people who have expressed that they would be late. Brian Mangan, Lori Brooks probably will not be able to make it. We do have a time constraint. Carl Burnside has to leave by 5 o'clock.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you.
We are missing Jill Castellano and Mario Dorsal.
Okay. No time constraints on anyone?
Not today.
Okay, great. Well, welcome back to the refrigerator or freezer. Yeah. And Amy has put together a little presentation to explain further their options, and it may answer some questions you've come up with over the last 24 hours, or it may not. But if everybody's okay with that, I'm going to let Amy do that. Ron?
In minutes last night.
Oh, minutes, I forgot.
Sorry.
Minutes. I'm sure everybody had plenty. Anna? Minute?
Playing the Bob role for that.
I got some corrections.
Okay, Anna.
Go ahead.
Do you have the mic? Oh.
I thought you were gonna make me talk into your coat. I was like, I have nothing. Okay, let me go to where I downloaded it. Okay, underneath the story, under, I don't even know how to say what this is for.
What article?
Yeah, 10. Okay, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth bullet down. There, it says here, risk level 4, turnaround committee recommendation 5,000. And then it talks about like how we identified most at-risk schools. I thought that we did, instead of the ELA proficiency rates, that we used the ELL average. We did not, because I was looking at that data chart and that was on the list of schools. So I just wanted to make sure that I understood it correctly.
ELL data?
No.
Oh, it's ELL onboard.
No, it was ELA. So it's the 3 years onboarding of ELA proficiency rank. So it was kindergarten students in PM1, 5th graders in PM3, 8th graders in PM3, and then you take those proficiency rates and rank order the schools based on their percentage of proficiency rates for students tested in language arts.
Okay, and then.
We had ELL as part of that, so, but then we kind of showed how the ELL wasn't the best predictor.
Right. I just was making sure, because when I went back and checked that data sheet, I was like, okay, well, this is on here. I just wanted to make sure it was captured correctly. But then also my second question, and then below that, it says, based on the current incentive of 4,000, but then above that, it said that the committee recommendation was $5,000, but that $5,000 was part of your guys' option, not necessarily the recommendation of the committee.
Yes.
Okay, and then going down to the tested areas incentive, there is a sentence that says teachers have moved out of some tested areas. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Anna.
Thanks, Anna.
Anybody else? Okay.
So in the options, Amy, the first one, and you only typed out what was said, but I think it needs to be clarified. Under option 5, bullet 1, the elimination of terminal pay needs to be clarified that we're not eliminating terminal pay.
The elimination of a hurdle.
Elimination of the 10-year requirement. I think we'll then know what we're talking about, but boy, if we were all not to be here and someone else had to see that, that would be interesting.
I meant to clarify that when you're talking to me today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks, Rob. Anybody else? All right, then can we accept the minutes from yesterday with the corrections and deletions? All right, we're good to go. Thank you.
Okay, I will unshare that. Thank you, sir.
Okay, and as you're doing this, it's okay for somebody to ask a question if they have one on a particular slide you're going through, Amy?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Just give you one word. Sun.
Yes. That's unbelievable.
Sorry, hold on.
That's all right, no problem.
I was just sending it to Ron. Okay. So you can do it, all right, you know why? We're not really quiet enough?
It's moving.
I feel like we should all go crazy because the students do when you have that.
Right.
We should all be like, there's a sign over there, there's one here. Thank you for being
Okay.
Yeah. Not really.
Oh, and then it's gonna.
hard to start before Kerr gets back.
Can we hang on for?
Yeah, can you hang on just for another minute? Kerr had to go
Or
get
is
his
there, you know,
charger
take
out
the
of his
group, so
car.
I don't wanna make you go back. You just ran out.
Oops, I'll go back to the windows anyway. There.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, this is just, okay, all right. Look,
Now we just have to wait for Kerr. And
Oh, every time I turn around, we're waiting for that guy.
He will get assigned more work for you. He'll get fired in the office and get more work.
My apologies. Thank you for being patient. We got this.
the end of a school year, and there's always plenty of work to be done. For everybody.
And flexibility.
So I'm sure Amy will send everybody this at some point, right?
I'll send it to Amy so she can add it into the notes.
Okay, that's fine. You're welcome. Amy wasn't happy about it, but, you know, that's just the way she is.
Didn't have to wait for me.
Yeah. Kevin said we had to.
Oh, I appreciate it. I can go to Tallahassee and nothing. No, no, it's urgent. I can't leave for 2 minutes.
Okay, let's get started.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you very much for your patience. We just wanted to put something together a little bit more formal, had to have some additional details in here because Ron talked a lot about the option yesterday. There were a lot of details to it, and we wanted to try to lay out some more of those today for some additional discussion. So first, Ron did talk about the salary schedule itself, and he did mention pay grades within the salary schedule. So just wanted to share what that salary schedule looks like and what it is. So the salary schedule has 6 different pay grades in it. Its minimums and maximums are a 60% spread, and that's what that number range spread means. So between its minimum and the maximum points, there's a 60% spread in there, and there is a 6% jump in between pay grades themselves, which is what that means by the progression. And so this is what the salary schedule looks like, the format of which is one of the things that we worked, or that the district worked with Evergreen in order to come up with the salary schedule structure. So there's some more details about the salary schedule itself. And then, so the pay grades, T01 through T06, and what do they mean? So this is not an all-inclusive list. Of course, I cannot fit every job description on this list here, but we will share the entire, like all of the job descriptions or job classifications and what pay grade in which they fall in this proposed option. But T01 is these 3 job descriptions, or these 3 positions as are listed here. I do want to note that when you look at the salary schedule itself, T01 has a minimum starting salary of $53,230. So that's the minimum starting salary. For someone who comes in as one of these positions, either a financial aid advisor or an athletic trainer, they would come in at $53,230. However, a beginning classroom teacher, and we categorize a beginning classroom teacher as someone who has less than 3 years, their minimum in this option would be $54,500. So that's the minimum beginning teacher. However, it's more than the minimum of T01 on the salary schedule itself. So just want to be clear of how that looks and what that is. Then you have the other pay grades between T02 and T06. Again, this is not an all-inclusive list of all of the different job descriptions, but these are some of the major ones and where they fall inside of some of the inside of the different pay grades that are proposed in this option and on the salary schedule. And I will take a second for you to absorb that, and then I'll flip back to the salary schedule itself so you can kind of see the differences between T01 all the way through to T06. And then the different job descriptions and where they would fall in each of the pay grades. So in the option that Ron discussed yesterday, sorry, did you have a question? Were you? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, okay.
I'll take a picture though.
Okay, all right.
And you can smoke.
And you will get copies, so within the notes. But yeah, tell me, I will slow down as much as you want me to slow down, not a problem for me.
Thank you.
So as Ron discussed yesterday, the first step or the first piece of the option is basically moving everyone to a minimum salary. So that'll happen in two different ways. First of all, everybody needs to be converted, so to speak, to the new salary schedule that we're talking about. And if the person makes less than the minimum of their new pay grade, then they would move to the minimum of that pay grade. Remembering that any classroom teacher would be moved to a minimum of 54.5, and that is if they are less than 3 years. Any classroom teacher, and I didn't point this out on this slide, but for any classroom teacher that is greater than 3 years, they automatically move to the T02 pay grade. And so if they were less than that, they would move to that at that point. If moving to the minimum of the new pay grade, or you're already in the range for your new pay grade, if you're already there, then each employee would receive at least a minimum 3% increase. Every employee would receive that unless you are over the maximum of what is prescribed in the pay grade. If you're over the maximum of what is in the pay grade, then you would not receive an increase because you're already over the maximum of the pay grade. So, but the way we have the option structured is that there would be something in the form of a bonus in this option, but nothing to the ongoing salary. Miss Anna, you had a question?
I'll wait.
No, please, go ahead.
I'll wait.
Oh, no, I don't mind walking around, really. Okay.
Her has it.
I just want to ask a question about, so it says right here, unless over pay grade max.
Right.
So moving forward, if I'm a person, I'm a T2, would they cap out at the max of that grade?
Yes. Under a salary schedule, yes, a person would max out at the top of the grade that they were in. Of course, a person can always move to a different pay grade if they move into a different job or something like that. But if you continue to be a TO2 throughout the span of that pay grade, or throughout the span of that range of the pay grade, then yes, you would top out once you got to that maximum.
Okay, thank you.
And then what happened to you after that would be, of course, subject to negotiation every time.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. So in this part of the particular proposal, so just this part where we're moving people to the minimum of that pay grade and or giving the 3% minimum increase, that investment in that is $16.9 million. So that is what that investment looks like. Then the next part of the option that I don't think we discussed as much yesterday, but I do think Ron mentioned it briefly, was a compression adjustment. We've talked considerably at the table about the compression in the salary schedule and the need to try to adjust that or alleviate that in some way over time. And so this option also gives a nod to that as well. And this is the proposed compression adjustment. And so just to kind of read off, for anybody who is less than or equal to 5 years, there's no adjustment there. There's no compression adjustment there. And then if you go to people who are less than who are more than 5 years, greater than 5 years, but less than 9 years, there's a 1% adjustment. So on and so forth down the graph. That's the compression adjustment where we're adding some additional dollars to people in different parts of the salary schedule based on years. And that investment in this part of the option is $4.8 million.
It does.
Is that just a typo? No, I think it's the presentation that Evergreen did for spout.
Oh,
The district
it
said that they never did for TALC, but they changed the spout. They're,
No, it's actually not. But it is we have the options the option file that I'm building in kind of creates the same types of options or the same types of adjustments for different people. So it is true that does say spout because, there's some copy paste going on with different things. So my apologies that this should have said TALC, and certainly it is for you today. But the option files for the different adjustments and options that we're working with look similar in different ways and circumstances. Then you have the part that we discussed yesterday with the risk levels, the risk level incentives for different parts, reasons, and risk levels. So there are 3 different ones that we discussed yesterday, and again, they're laid out here by table. The first one is called the targeted school adjustment, and that is only offered to risk level 4 teachers, and that would be a $5,000 supplement for each of the people who are at those locations at risk level 4. So it's a $5,000 adjustment. Then there's an instructional impact supplement, or that is those parts and pieces that impact the school grade as we discussed yesterday. At risk level 4 schools, that would be $7,500. And at risk level 3 schools, it would be $5,000 as a supplement. And then there's a third option for any teacher who is an ESE self-contained teacher. That is just a self-contained teacher. At risk level 4, it's $7,500. Risk level 3, $5,000. And then for any schools who are risk level 1 or 2, $2,500. And that investment in this part of the option, $8.4 million. So just to give a little insight as to the different the impact of the adjustments or the impact of the proposed option for different people, the average increase for the TALC unit, the average increase, and that doesn't count any of these. It doesn't count the risk level incentives because the risk level incentives are a supplement. And so the average increase across the board is 5% for a TALC member. And of course, any risk level assessment will come above that. That's the average increase. The range of the increase would go anywhere from 0, that is those people who are over the max, anywhere from 0 to 18%. So it's a range of the adjustments or the range of the increases. Average being 5%. And then just the last piece of it, so as Ron talked about yesterday, this package or this bundle option would include the bereavement leave at 3 days for the certain relationships that we had talked about before. And that language would be, of course, we would talk about and be clear on. It does also include the parental leave, which would be for four weeks, if I'm saying that correctly. The elimination of the tenure requirement for terminal pay. And all of these different benefits are benefits that will impact, could be multiple employees in different stages of their career. And then the new teacher day, moving forward for the new year, would be 7.75 hours, or that is 7 hours and 45 minutes. So we thought that it would be necessary today to lay out just a bit more detail about the bundle options that we have. There's many parts and pieces inside of the bundle, and so we just wanted to make sure that we were clear with that, not only with the people at this table, but also anybody who was going to be here and or watching. And so we will step aside for any questions or further discussion that anybody might have.
Anybody? Shay?
So how would one determine if they were at the minimum, midpoint, or
Matt?
maximum?
How does a person determine that, or how did we determine that in the option?
Well, I guess both, because people are watching and they want to know where they fall if they're looking at something that we're looking to ratify with 5,800 people.
Mm-hmm. So this is, the salary schedule is just, it's a display of what the minimum and maximum ranges are and what the midpoint is of that particular pay grade. In this option, the only placement of a person on the range is the pay grade is either by placing them at the minimum, if it gives them more than a 3% increase, or if they're already in the range with their current salary or their current rate, giving them that 3% minimum increase. There's no additional placement in the salary schedule besides that, and then the compression adjustment comes after that. That's how the placement happens on the salary schedule itself.
You look puzzled, Shay.
So a teacher with more than 3 years is under TO2, and they're within that range, but they're making plus 3%, I think is what you're saying.
So, for example, if I am a beginning teacher, I just got here last year, so I have 1 year worth of experience, I would be a teacher that, according to this option, would be a TO1. Right now, my salary would be, assuming nothing else going on with me, $50,500, because that is the minimum starting salary. Under this new option, the minimum starting salary for a classroom teacher is $54,500. If we move that person to $54,500, that is more than a 3% increase. So that's what they would receive. So therefore, if I'm that person, I would move on the salary schedule to TO1 at $54,500 because that is the minimum, and that's where I'm placed in the range.
Okay, so what about, let's say, a 10-year teacher? How would that work for someone like that?
So if I'm a 10-year teacher and right now my salary is, I'm making up a number, but if my salary is $65,000 right now as a 10-year teacher, in this particular option, I'm a TO2 because I assume that I'm a regular classroom teacher. In this particular option, I'm a TO2. If my salary already is $65,000, I'm within the range of TO2 because TO2 goes from $56,000 to $90,000. So my new salary is I get placed in the range at my current salary of $65,000. I get a 3% increase because I don't need to be brought to the minimum. I'm already above the minimum. I get that 3% increase. And then I would also get the compression adjustment of whatever the appropriate percentage is to go with that. And that's my new salary. That's where I am in the range.
Okay, or pass it to Amy, please. Go ahead, Amy.
Just to clarify, so if my new raise, my percentage for the compression and my percentage, the 3%, doesn't meet $4,000, then a teacher that has been in the district for maybe 4 years is going to be getting a bigger raise than I am?
I'm not sure that I understood your question. I'm sorry, could you ask it again?
Sure, I can try and clarify that. All right, so let's say I am a teacher and I've been in the district for 15 years and I'm making $58,000. I'm already in the TO2, so I did not figure out what the percentage would be, but I would get that 3%.
Okay.
for the increase, and then I would get whatever, step I was on for that compression, right?
Correct.
So if that fell under $4,000, that would mean somebody that was on year 4 would be getting a $4,000 raise possibly, and I would, as a year 8 teacher, whatever, I would be getting less.
It is a possibility, but I would encourage us, as we're thinking about the impact of the dollars themselves, to think about it in terms of a percentage increase as opposed to a dollar amount, because $4,000 to someone at $50,000 is a different percentage than $4,000 to someone who may be at 60 or 65. So I think the apt comparison would need to be a percentage increase as opposed to a dollar amount. But yes, the impact could be different for different people, is different for different people. And so the average increase, as I said, across the board was 5%, but that range varies from 0 to 18. So the different impacts are different for different people, yes.
Want to pass the mic to Iris, please?
So you wouldn't necessarily move throughout the pay grades, like on a yearly basis, for example, based on my years of service?
Well, you would over time move along the range of the pay grade over time, and how you do that would be dependent on what was negotiated in any given year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you wouldn't necessarily be getting raises on a yearly basis based on your years of service?
Not necessarily, it would be based on whatever was negotiated in that particular year. Right, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for clarification? Oh, Kevin? It'll get there, it's on its way.
And somebody wants to get ahead of the second grade.
Well, Jamie needs to answer questions, so.
Okay, oh, yeah, so she has the other one. All right, so, I guess my question, I mean, I'm just gonna say this out loud. I'd like it even less now that it's like this, but that's a separate thing. This seems like a really radical thing to do on April 30th, when the imposed deadline to get it done for this year was May 10th. That's all I'm saying. I want to look at the 2 jobs on T01 that are not classroom teacher. So I guess my question is, what about financial aid advisor and athletic trainer makes them less valuable so they don't make starting teacher pay? They make a number less than that when they come to the district.
Rhetorical, or you want me to answer that?
They're going to make less than starting teacher pay, so there must have been a value judgment on why people coming in with those 2 jobs would make less than a starting classroom teacher. So yes, I'd like to know the logic behind that. Everybody not arguing the face for the teacher, unless you're on the specialist.
But I mean, as any position on a salary schedule and its pay grade, it would be determined based on what the responsibilities of the job were. And so that's where it went. That is the proposal that you see. A classroom teacher with students in front of students and with the responsibilities that they have is viewed differently on this option and in this salary schedule than not only those 2 positions, but all of the other job descriptions that are on the salary schedule itself.
Okay. All right, Anna.
So my question is in regards to the teacher daytime. With an additional 9 minutes of the day, is that, and it's kind of a little series of questions, is that adding 9 minutes of planning time to teachers, or is that adding 9 minutes more of student contact time?
Well, the bell schedules for next year, and that is the student bell schedules have been approved by the board already. So those bell times are what they are. I do believe in, Dr. Shaker can correct me, that at the high school level, those minutes got added, for students. But at the other levels, they stayed the same, right? So student contact time at middle and elementary for next year is the same as what it is this year. At high schools, it did increase by, I forget how many minutes? 2 minutes per period, so 14 minutes in the day. Those are the student bell times for next year. The minutes are to the teacher day themselves.
To teacher contract time. That was my follow-up question with the change of bell times. I was like, oh my gosh, like, we're gonna have to change everything again, and we've already met in leadership teams and discussed what our contract hours are gonna be. And I know principals have the authority to set the contract hours during the daytime. Some schools, are a little bit flexible depending on primarily their dismissal needs. Some schools have very long parent pickup lines, I think based on your location. So I just was curious on where those 9 minutes that were proposed were going.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed on the one page, I'll call it the spell page, just so you know what page it is. I just noticed it said years T. So I know we've talked a lot about like years X, we've talked about years L, so can you just speak a little bit about what years T are?
Yes, I believe. Correct. So years T, credible years of teaching experience.
Okay, anything else, Anna? All right, Iris needs the mic, please. Okay, Iris, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay.
They're gonna
I
stop
was just
talking now.
wondering, on the slide with the different, special instructional positions, what was the criteria to, categorize these? Like in terms of the difference between a T3 and a T6, for example?
Criteria generally to categorize any of the different positions was basically the job description, responsibilities, the associated, responsibilities and the scope and span of responsibilities and level of risk in any particular area. So generally, that was the criteria.
Not credentials? Credentials were included? Okay. Because, T3 social workers, there are many social workers who are clinical licensed. So I see a discrepancy in terms of those social workers making less money than, let's say, the licensed professionals like the mental health and the psychologists. If that's one of the criteria.
Thank you.
Okay, Kerr wanted to. No? Okay, Kerr does not want to. Anybody else? All right, any other questions on anything
I don't think
that
we
was
have any
presented?
questions. I think we
Okay.
need to chat.
Oh, you need to chat?
Yes.
Okay, caucus for how long? 20? Got it. District gonna caucus?
Yes, we will.
Okay, And I'll call the caucus, so I would like to hear from TALC first. Need a mic. Where's the mic end up?
All right, thank you for the time, caucus. We talked quite a bit about what we just saw. Just as an aside, I said this to Ron just before, this would have been really nice to see in labor management when we met 2 weeks ago. I wasn't as intimately involved in the SPALC new salary project as my colleague Lois was. But they saw a lot throughout the process. And it's a really hard pill to swallow in the 11th hour to see something that's just so vastly different without some sort of heads up. This really looks like an hourly wage type of salary range. I explained to my team, it looks very like industrial union type of salary schedule. So I understand it. We talked about what happens at the max. You get bonuses afterwards, not rate. We discussed all of that. But the conclusion we came to is it's hard for us to see how the option presented helps further the superintendent's plan to increase teacher compensation district-wide. We can't actively participate in raising the base and causing more compression like we were forced to do under Florida law when the move to 47.5 happened. We feel that this plan is rather divisive. We don't fix a staffing crisis by dividing folks, and we feel that differentiated pay might fill short-term vacancies, but it creates long-term resentment. As we've said, one of our union philosophies is that we try to do the most for the most, and every educator contributes to student success, and everyone deserves to be valued. That's our policy.
Okay, thank you. Ron, are you gonna give the caucus report or Amy? Depends on your voice.
Yeah.
So we had a caucus about the proposal itself, answered questions amongst each other, talked about the need for, an actual salary structure and why we propose the salary schedule, because we do get many questions about what our salary schedule is from people who are and are not here, could potentially be here and are already here, and there's not a structure in place. So we wanted to try to put that structure in place, talked a little bit more about special instructional as well. So that was our caucus report.
Okay, thank you. So we have 5 options up here currently. Kevin?
So I'm gonna kind of do the lead-in to Kerr. So I'm just gonna say something out loud. And I'm gonna go off of the kind of thing that was the options that were up last night, right? So, and I guess I'll take them one by one, and I guess our option is a little more traditional. Okay, so, and I talk about buy-in stuff on the plan, and I think maybe I need to explain that a little more, right? So we're gonna have a theoretical number, and there are things that are priorities that we're gonna do and we're not gonna do. Everything costs money. We're gonna, like budgeting, this is what we're bringing in and this is what we're gonna buy with that money, right? So for us, we do acknowledge starting salary is not competitive. So we have kind of a plan to deal with starting salary. Parental leave, bereavement, we think that's wonderful. I'm still kind of, on the fence about where the money comes from, whether it comes from our responsibility, whether it's our deal, because I would assume you're just gonna give it to administrators and give it to Schedule N. I mean, and you'll have to negotiate it with TALC. We're very interested in, for lack of a better term, buying the special instructional supplement solution at 1.6. The two things that are related to, what did we rename that turnaround committee? The renamed turnaround committee. The two things that are related to that, the risk level 4, 10 school incentive, and the tested area incentive, I would like to give that back where it has traditionally belonged to the turnaround committee to make a recommendation with a budget. I will tell you that the tested areas incentive, I don't know if you guys have heard anything, but boy have we. I'm gonna borrow a phrase from Dr. Browder, and even though I'm a native Floridian, my accent isn't as good as his, that the main thing is the main thing. And the main thing is not singling out certain teachers at a small percentage of schools to give them money, when honestly, you still haven't proven to me that out of the 200 vacancies, 190 of them are in those fields. So again, that is not the main thing. The main thing is paying people, and I've said this before, that's a cherry on top. The main thing for us and me is getting salaries to a point where people as teachers don't have to work second jobs. Can live on what they make and have good insurance and have a great retirement and be able to go on vacation every once in a while. The tested area incentive doesn't do that. Anna may have a story to share about an ESE situation where, you know, the person who's actually doing work isn't necessarily the self-contained person and wouldn't get anything in the self-contained person would. We're extremely interested in the FMTC and Cape Coral Technical College being added to the special instructional at 606. We're also extremely interested in the discussion around how, and I'm going to try to remember this as best I can, how the direction to those administrators to develop a bonus plan for their employees based on certifications passed by their students, which they don't earn as part of K-12 because they're post-K-12. Collier doesn't. They came to us as a group, as labor management, and said, we would like to do this. We would like to develop a plan that is within our budget, so it doesn't cost anything. They were told by labor management, both TALC and the district, to go forth and do. They went forth and did. At one point, the district wanted to do it as an MOU, along with something else for the virtual school that has not come up. We at that point said there's no reason to do an MOU, because we're in bargaining, and why would we ratify this and then do bargaining? We will fold it in. So there is a plan that is out there that compensates those teachers for each student that passes one of the certification tests, just like K-12 kids. And they developed it within their budget. And then yesterday, we were told by the district that it doesn't fit in their budget, that it's not within their budget. And so those administrators worked all year under the guise of fix it, make it fit under your budget, we'll do it. Because I've told them all along, if it's coming out of your budget, what do I care? Because it benefits my people. So the district last night, or yesterday, informed me that the decision was made that it did not fit into their budget, and you would not be bringing it forward. So I think that's not cool, but I really would like to hear the reason why the district doesn't think it's within their budget. We would also like to do the longevity increases, because I think that affects 2,500 people or something. We also are interested in, you know, a tiered raise for everybody. The way the plan is structured, we kind of have an ability to make it a little better than this. And then I'm just going to say this out. The extended workday, when not coupled with compensation, is dead. And I'm going to say something that is not interesting. When TALC is no longer here, and we are not at 60%, feel free to do what you want to do. But as long as TALC is here, there will be no increase in the teacher workday without commensurate compensation. and to say you're gonna give me 3%, but I'm gonna have to work 9 minutes longer, LaShawna did the math, that's 27 hours. That has a value of almost $9 million. So you're gonna give me 3%, but I'm gonna have to stay later, and so part of that really eats into the 3% raise I got. So honestly, the opinion of this side of the table is an extended workday is only palatable and only entered in a conversation with the commensurate compensation that goes with it. And so with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Kurt. Anna, did you have a question?
No, that was not an.
That's a tirade and an introduction into the option.
I'll give an option.
All right,
Kurt has the option.
I would like to hear the option. That was more of an evaluation.
Yes.
Thank you. Can I paste right into option 6?
100%.
Okay. You're fine. So just to, sorry, I'm copying my face in here. To preface what I'm about to say, one of our affiliates, our national affiliate, the NEA, National Education Association, every year puts out a really in-depth analysis of school district salaries. And not just state by state, but county by county. I had this queued up and I lost it. Hang on a second. Would you believe that in 2022, Lee County, our average teacher pay, we ranked 29th in the state. There's 67 counties, so we were 29th. We fell in 2023 to 34th, but in 2024, of the 2 contracts we negotiated last year, it helped us move 20 spots. In 2024, we were 14th in teacher pay in the state of Florida, average teacher pay. And I believe it has to do with, I call it a scheme, not because it's shady, but just the methodology that we use to help decompress the salary schedule. We would like, part of our option would include, we would like to move the starting teacher pay to $55,000 over 3 years by adding $1,500 a year. I can add that in there as I talk. Hang on.
Well, I can add it.
Oh, that's great. Then I can paste my chart.
Yeah, just paste it in and.
So in order to not cause compression, we would like to add $1,500 to everyone's salary and do, because I said over 3 years, so it's $1,500 a year over 3 years. For year 1, we would like to increase starting teacher salary by $1,500 and apply the percentage raises based on, we called it years X because that's what we've always used. And I'll paste it here, Amy. Oh, of course. Don't you love the formatting? How am I going to do this? 1 second.
Should you paste out formatting and I'll play around with it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
There you go. So if you look here, under this plan, 5,371 people, or 90% of the bargaining unit, would receive at least a 6% increase on top of $1,500. We believe that increasing starting teacher pay, especially over 3 years, $1,500 a year, would not just help attract and recruit new teachers, but by honoring the number of years that they have spent in the teaching profession, that would help retain our valued educators and respect the length of time that they've been in the profession. A 10% raise for those 1,208 people would receive a 10% raise because they've been here over 20 years under our option. Let me find the other piece. As President Daley said, we're interested in talking to you about moving to an 8-hour day. We would like to do it over 3 years as well if we do. The issue with that is, as President Daley said, that would need to be compensated. 9 minutes of a new teacher's salary over the 196 days is $1,000. So in our mind, under the district's option, we would give 4,000 with one hand and take 1,000 with another by asking them to work an additional 9 minutes a day for 196 days. Because that does have a cost. Adding 9 minutes for every employee under the TALC contract costs about $8.7 million. So I don't have it to paste it here, but our idea was add 9 this year, or I'm sorry, in 25, add 9 in 26, and then add 6 in 27, because that makes a really nice, number of hours in the week. We moved from 30, what are we at, 38? We've been 38, 3/4, 39 and a half, and then the 40. But if we were interested in talking about that, it would need to be over a period of time.
Okay, hold on a sec, Kerr, if you're gonna move on to something else, and let Amy.
Yeah, no, it's part of the,
25, 9 and 25, 26.
Yeah.
9 and 26, 27, and 6 and 27, 28. You're doing fiscal year, so that's.
yeah,
No, that's fine. I didn't include some of the other things we talked about, but I mean, as Kevin said, we're very interested in longevity increase. With that, I did the math on that as well. Kevin, I really need my second screen while I'm doing this. With longevity, that affects 2,359 people. That's about half of our team, with increasing longevity. And as we said a few weeks ago, accepting the bereavement and parental leave plans not only is just the right thing to do for employees, it would put us on the map. No place else would have the parental leave language that we would have. It would set the standard for the rest of the state, and bereavement leave as well. It would set the standard for the rest of the state. And at such a small cost, it's the right thing to do for employees.
okay, the longevity increase is what we had in one of our other options right here, option 3.
Yes. That was option 3, yes.
So you want the same
Yeah.
thing as part of that bundle, okay.
Normally I would do a straw design, but we're
Right.
packaging, so I'm packaging. And the last piece of our option, I wrote turnaround school, and the new name of turnaround school.
Targeted.
Thank you. On the cost chart, 3.2 and 3.6, that's about 7 million. So we would like to give the turnaround school committee a budget of $8 million and ask them to come up with an option on how to spend that money for those at-risk schools. And I believe that would be the end of option number 6.
Okay, want to read it over, make sure we got everything?
Yes, and just one remark on the starting salary, the percent increases, that would just be for this year. We would like to have reopeners over the next 2 years to talk about those percent increases. So that would just be for FY '26. And where you see years X is 0% increase, they're getting $1,500 like everybody else. And so when I add the $1,500 in there, it looked like they were getting $1,500 twice. So I zeroed that out. So our order of operations would be everybody gets $1,500, and then you get the percentages based on the number of years of credible teaching experience.
Okay,
Well, I'm gonna clarify that, everybody gets $1,500 and then on top of that, 6%, 7%?
Yes, that is correct.
okay, anybody else have anything to add, any questions about option 6? Amy?
Yes, do you know what the total proposed amount of this option is?
I do. I'm muted. I do. So of the, what was this one? So the cost of the pass-through, I'm calling pass-through, is 8 million, about 8.1. But the cost of the percentage raises is almost 33. 33 million. To not have the best phrase for it, we feel that raising base salary and passing it through to everyone is almost the cost of doing business. And so we tried to come in around the price of your option with our percent increases. And we've spoken in a few sessions before just of, different ways that we feel we could pay for this. Just the underspending in the salary line item currently would be about $21 million, and that's a pretty good chunk of that. So I don't like the total is approximately 41 million because, like I said, I feel that 8.1 is a pass-through, but I guess in total, perhaps.
Go ahead, Amy.
Is it not in total 53 million, if I heard you correctly? If you're saying that the 1,500 per is 8.1, then 33 million for the 33 million for the percentage increases, the tiered increases, plus the longevity increase, which, as we said, would be about 4 million, plus the 8 million for the turnaround committee. So all those in total, 53 million. Did I get that right?
Maybe I didn't add those in.
Okay,
Just
but
talking about the percentage increases. But
Okay,
yes, that would be on top of that.
those were it, right? Okay.
The word that we're using is transformative. Our plan is transformative.
Okay. Any other questions for this option? Yeah, go ahead.
So,
Oh, Rod?
Oh, I didn't. I have one simple question,
Okay.
and it's about starting teacher salary, which it appeared as though we had a mutual interest in, but you're suggesting that it only go up to $52,000 next year?
For one, yes, 3-year plan.
All right.
Into 55.
So I'm not sure that's a mutual interest at this point.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Oh, Iris?
Just for clarification, Claire, is that including the buy-in for special instructional?
This did not.
but sure.
Amy, I think that's 4 million you look for.
All right. Kevin's next.
And not that I want to go back and forth, but I will say every teacher we retain is a teacher we don't have to recruit. And so when we're $7,000 behind, I'm telling you, if I ran HR for Collier, you wouldn't have a single teacher that lives south of Estero with 5 to 10 years of experience. I would be emailing them on their district email, asking them to come down and offer them at least 8,000 more, because that's what I can give them. So no principal in this room wants a room full of first-year teachers. If we solely focus the majority of our money on new teachers and recruitment, we are neglecting the most important part of our organization, which is the seasoned veteran teachers. So every teacher we retain is a teacher we don't have to recruit. Now, there's something else that I've asked about and want to add here, but it's kind of different. It's the supply money. As I've said before, I want everybody to get the supply money, and I want everybody re-upped in January. So we'll call this option 7.
Okay.
And so, hopefully you guys can tell me, because you're the one that turns on the switch to give people access to $300. So out of the 5,800 people, a percentage of them get the access to the $300, and a percentage of them don't. So in August, I'd like everybody to get that $300, and then I'd like a re-up in January. And I'm going to tell you, we can get it right after the supply budget. Because the supply budget line item is it's fine, right there? Huh? Everybody gets another 3 in January.
Yes.
Yes.
Once
Once per semester. The supplies line item is under budgeted, and there was just a move 2 months ago to move money from the instructional salary over to supplies. And you're still $50 million underspent. This is $300 for 5,800 people once, and $300 for 2,500 people once. And again, there is a board policy that says the board will provide everything a teacher needs to do their jobs. So when a teacher looks for copy paper, they shouldn't be buying it. The board will provide everything a teacher needs to do their job. There's all the TikToks out there about the government-funded classroom and the teacher-funded classroom and what they look like. Every penny these teachers spend on supplying their classroom is a penny they don't have for their families and for their bills. The policy says the board will provide. This is a step in the direction of the board providing at least some of that money for teachers to stock their classrooms. And again, the supplies budget is consistently underspent year after year, $30–40 million. So it's very clear and it's there. So that's kind of the option 7.
Okay. Anything else? Any other option?
I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead, Kurt.
When and my data's a little old, it's about 16 days old, I had the longevity option coming at $3.5 million, and it's only $500 million difference.
Okay. Quick change it. All right, now, because you bundled everything, a lot of things in option 6, are there any of those options prior to that we can just eliminate at this point? Strike through? I'm sorry. Amy?
Sorry, Ron had a question, wanted to make sure, because there was a question earlier about the special instructional, and wanted to be sure, are we missing something in this option, or is that not in this option?
I neglected it in this, I would like to include it, but if I need to go back and call it option 9 or whatever, do a straw design, I'm happy to do it. But if you want to go back and add it into option 6, let's just go ahead and do it.
All right, what's the thing for option 6 for special?
That was to equalize the special instructional supplements at 1.6.
Okay. All right, anything else?
I have 54.7, because the instructional cost was 1.6 million, right? Is that what I had? Okay. Plus, you have longevity increase of 3 million, 3.5, which is fine. It really is 3.9, so I rounded that to 4.
Ah, okay.
Just going off of my April 15th data.
I'm gonna try to ask a question.
Okay, Ron,
This
go
way.
for it.
So the total number of this option, the total cost of this option is 54.7 million. Somewhere around there. Well, we have to figure out what that means, what that actually is. And then are you asking for commitments in the next couple of years then to be able, so we're actually negotiating for 2 years beyond?
Just, now, if we're interested in moving to the 8-hour day, and if we're interested in, then we would like to see that over 3 years. And if we're serious about moving the starting teacher pay to 55, then yeah, to do that over 3 years. And our idea was we could get a commitment to, for that 3-year deal, but still have reopener so we can still come back and negotiate, not just close the book for 3 years.
Go ahead, Kevin.
And once we bought some of these things, like the FMTC, on the special instruction, on the special centers, the supplement true up, or whatever you want to call it, once we bought some of the bereavement, the paternal leave, once we bought some of these one-offs, that won't be, right, we won't negotiate that next year, right? And so the real multi-year commitment is the base pay, starting salary, and the idea of moving to an 8-hour day, if that's something that we can fund. I mean, an 8-hour day is $22 million a year. And so this is the moonshot, right? And so if 55 is too much, well, what are we gonna take off first? Probably the commitment to the 8-hour day is what comes first, right? And so this is the moonshot, this is the package. But yeah, at least the starting pay portion of it would have the idea that over the next 2 years, after next year, that eventually we get to 55, and so like there'd be $8 million a year in a lockbox before we went to bargaining that said this is what we would do over those next 2 years, and we can only do 3 because that's the longest contract we can have. I mean, I would, You do the car loan over 3, you do it over 10, right? Payment goes down. So the longest we can have is 3. But we've got to do something, and we can't do it all, short of the millage, which fixes all the problems at once, we're going to have to come up with a payment plan. And this is the payment plan.
Yes. So that, for recent corrections.
Total.
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Anna.
Looking at the little cost sheet that we had, from yesterday, it had starting salary increases for every $1,000, and then it had that total of 34.4 million. And I know it was TALC's interest that if we raised the beginning salary, that our interest is that, if we raise it by $1,000, everyone gets that 1,000. That 34.4 million, what was that cost out to how much, what was the starting salary for that cost?
Are you saying in our option?
Not in your option.
Okay.
Just from the cost. From the
This
sheet.
kind of the spreadsheet thing from yesterday?
Oh, 54,500, yes, I'm
And
sorry.
that was the cost to push that through to everyone was 34.4 million. Okay. And
Yeah,
then,
which was moving 8% down to everyone, because that was what the increase was, yeah.
now, in your proposal, is there a cost for, because I know that my question is there a cost for raising the starting salary to 54.5? Because I know it only went to years 0 to 3, or was that completely included in all of the grades?
In the option that we presented today,
Yes.
it was included in that move to minimum information and number that we gave in
And
that.
that cost was 16.9?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then, oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
so, can I add something to up here? I'm talking about to the option 6. That we didn't attach a number to the move to the 9 minutes in FY '26, right? If we're costing out this option, right, plus 8.5.
Yeah, I had,
So-
This is 8.5 for 26.
Yes, ma'am, for 26, yes.
and 5.8 is what I came up with for whatever that third year would be, 28.
Right. I guess I was just trying to stay true to where it, on the bottom where it says totals approximately, then it would be kind of the FY '26 total. I know there's other totals in the subsequent years, but then that 56.7, we would be adding another 8.5 million to that, just to, if we're documenting what the total is.
Or what was the total with the 6 minutes?
5.8.
Okay.
Oh, this is like, sorry.
Anything else?
I was gonna add it in
We're
there,
talking
but I don't like
$1,000 between print.
Anything else?
45.2. Yes, ma'am.
That needs to go up by the 8 point, whatever, 8.5.
Okay, anything else? No other clarifications needed? All right, let's see if we can get rid of some of those other options we did, 1 through 5. Because I know there's repetitiveness in what was proposed for 6 from those previous ones. So maybe we can just. Okay.
I don't see the need to get rid of them.
They're just options.
Okay.
3 is included in 6, but
Right.
it's also a standalone, so, we can.
Okay.
Remember the year we had 35 options?
Yeah, oh, I remember.
People were still writing stuff down then. All of this will be electronic. There's not chart paper everywhere, so we can have 35, it's easier, it's just carpal tunnel at this point.
we can have as many options as you want. I just wanted to be sure you didn't want to make any changes. All right, now, we made a list of common, Rod?
Actually, no, I'm good with that. Okay.
Okay. We made a list of common interest at our first session. And that's how we should look at these options and evaluate these options. So first, I should ask, are there any other options at this point? Any further discussion at this point? No. All right. So do you want to take the option one by one, or Ron, you gonna try?
I'm not sure either one of us is ready to talk about the other side's options at the moment. Yeah, so, but again, like I've always said, unless we write it down, we're never gonna know, and we're never gonna set a goal. So it's written down.
It is written
And it's a
down.
big invoice, and I always said it would be. I never lied.
So do we want to call it until Monday and have some time to sit on these?
Yeah, we have a session scheduled Monday, so
Right.
we would need that time to.
But remember, when you're looking at these, to look at the interest as well. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, so just looking back over the last couple of days, there was resistance to leaving, or not bargaining tonight and leaving early last night because we have this exigency to get done, which I think has been voiced more often than not. And then we come up with a $65.2 million option. The district was criticized for coming up with some new plan. So I guess we're even now when it comes to the unexpected.
It's not taken.
Well, I'm not saying it's tit for tat, but that's certainly, it could be measured that way. I'm not sure what you all came in here thinking you were gonna do today. If that was it, okay, I get it. But I'm saying we were blamed, or at least accused, of not presenting our plan sooner by the president. And so now we're here with Monday as our next session, and I think the deadline is that day, or at least coming up. So, I frankly, as a member of the teams, would like to get done. So I'm wondering what we can do.
Tonight? And the
Tonight
next hour?
Or in the next 24 hours, or in the next 36 hours. I mean, if there's an urgency like has been expressed, let's keep going.
All right, I don't know, if Anna was first.
Okay, so, first of all, this is not a tit for tat thing. And when we look at our common interests, right here it says that we are all here for the same kids, employee morale, reduction of compression, student achievement, safety, recruitment and retention, culture, equity, compliance, competitiveness, implementation, and manageability. From every single teacher that I have heard from in the last 24 hours, I could say more than half of these common interests are concerned with what was proposed last night. I had a conversation with a teacher last night, or actually this morning, an ESE teacher at my school who is doing the job of 2 ESE teachers, has a caseload of 38 students on her staff. And when I mentioned to her the proposal to get kind of her feedback, she instantly burst into tears, said to me, well, fine, I will go take my pre-K ESE certification so then I can make more money for teachers to have less students than I have on my caseload and not have to do the amount of work I am for more money. That's where it comes into the concern of equity. How can we send a message that some of our employees are more important than some of our other employees? We have for years tried to get money funded into our lower performing schools. We have come up with competitive and robust plans. We have spent many hours trying to come up with how to fix a situation that, quite frankly, is not necessarily the school's job to fix. When we are dealing with students that come from poverty, when we are dealing with students that come from trauma, all of those factors come into play. I know that there was a lot of conversations about the ESE teachers across the district. I was a little kind of like when I saw that risk level 1 and 2 schools for ESE self-contained would get something, because that was not mentioned last night, and I know that message came off as how are the ESE teachers and students in the cake. What we have to deal with is not equal to what other teachers in either the East Zone or other school zones are. So that's what this comes down to. We want to come up with the best plan. The district has historically, they have long under-supported and underfunded low-performing schools. The solution every time has been to throw some money and resources at the school until the grade is raised and the rug is pulled out from that school, thus creating a constant cycle of chaos for those schools. And that is where we are at, a constant cycle of chaos. We have taken years to get to this situation, and it is not going to be solved in an instant. And yeah, a $65 million deal, that's where we're at. Like Kevin said last night, the cherry on top, I work at one of those schools. For me to sit here and advocate against that, that's a pay cut against my own self. So when people think that the bargaining team sits here and negotiates for themselves, I'm doing exactly the opposite of that, because I have to sit here and advocate for all of the teachers and all of our common interests in the district. And then I lost my train of thought, so that's where we're at.
All right, so let's pass it to Kevin. He was next. Thank you for doing the interest.
You're welcome.
So I guess for me, I really think back to last night. We did a lot of talking, and then finally, at 6:30, Anna said, put your options up. So this came 6:30 last night. And then today, there's an even more in-depth option with nonsense we haven't ever seen. So the idea that this is tit for tat, we developed this plan in less than 24 hours and decided what were our priorities and what we thought met the interest of everybody in the district. And so the idea that we won't get done is fine. Because do we have bargaining authority? Because I thought the deal was we weren't getting bargaining authority until we got a package together. So I'll test 6 and 7 right now. It is not a problem. So I'll test it now. But we don't have bargaining authority, right?
I'm not asking, I didn't ask for it
Right,
to do that.
right, because our deal
What I
was,
said was, we need some time, we have a session scheduled on Monday.
Right.
And that's where I stand.
right, if we had bargaining authority, we could say we could do something and play with the numbers, but we don't have it. So at this point, we have to look at this and make a decision about the plan we want to advance to the board, and together ask for the bargaining authority that represents that number. So I'm willing to sit here and go, well, gee, the 8-hour day looks like a lot of money, let's pair that up. Right? I'm willing to kind of whittle it down, but maybe that's what Monday is for, and I'm going to say this out loud again. We added sessions only because we didn't perhaps appropriately utilize the sessions we already had. And again, 6:30 last night this was put up. This wasn't put up in February, and we've been beating it up. So I understand, and I understand for the turnaround people, they may not know till August. But guess what? The turnaround committee, and both people are guilty, didn't necessarily meet as often as they should to have the number ready now. We haven't talked about career ladder yet, which has a recommendation coming. So, I'm willing to whittle stuff down, but we don't have a number.
Can I just state for the record? So again, the presentation of the option last night, it was our understanding, as we talked about previous, that we weren't really gonna do that. We were gonna try to clean up some other things, but, you know, obviously, we had some things on the table that we were considering to meet the interest of what management was going to bring to the table. So when we came back after the caucus and we said, hey, let's present some options, I don't know that we were fully prepared to do everything that we needed to do at that night. So I apologize if that's the case, the way it came across, but that I was not expecting to present an option last night until right after caucus. And you and I talked about that before. So I just wanted to, so everybody understands that, you know, we had talked about not presenting the options, but we had time in the interest of trying to get some things done. We felt it was important to get some of those things on the table because we wanted you to know what the district's interests were and what we were thinking to meet those interests. So that's why we presented that, and that's why you got a more in-depth presentation tonight, just for the record.
All right, so, Iris.
On a positive note, I would like to say that I'm hopeful. I know that this is a big number, but we do have, you know, a superintendent who has worked really hard in terms of restructuring and saving $20 million. And I think that is, that's something that we could look forward to and be hopeful that with the additional $20 million that were saved, perhaps a big percentage of that money can be put towards this in addition to what we normally have for a budget for learning.
All right, thanks, Iris. Pass it to Shay, please.
Thank you. And I just want to say a little bit about our option tonight. Since last night, I believe every person that's part of the bargaining team, including Kevin and Kerr, have heard from teachers today. We have been bombarded. They are here in the audience. They are online watching. They're on Facebook posting. And we hear them, and we understand what they need. I know it's a big number, but there were many years that many of us worked in this district, and we saw a $1,000 raise. Cost of living since 2020 has our inflation, I gotta look at my notes, but it's been up 20% for the past 5 years. We have not received 20% raise over the past 5 years. And I want to also say something about recruitment. I know Rob said he doesn't feel this meets the idea of recruitment, but when we sit at this table for many years, the conversation has been total compensation. It has been, oh, you get this much salary and you get this much in benefits. And if you look at our option, a benefit of having bereavement, the other counties around us don't offer that. Parental leave, the other counties don't offer that. So those are benefits that are part of compensation that also make us attractive to new teachers. But at the end of the day, if we only need 200 new teachers, let's think about the 5,700 teachers that we currently have working for us.
Pass it to Kirk, please.
I just want to put one more piece of data into the record, or into the minutes, not the record. According to NEA, they look at a minimum living wage. And the way that's calculated is they look at the income needed for a family of one adult and one child to have a modest but adequate, whatever that means, standard of living in the most affordable metro area. Would you believe that the most affordable metro area in Florida is Jacksonville, but then it's followed very closely by Fort Myers, Cape Coral. And according to the NEA, the minimum living wage for a one person and one child to have a Christopher Deere. That's not lost on me. But to have a modest but adequate standard of living in our metro area is $61,002. And so that is That's just part of the stats that were driving some of our decisions.
For a family?
One adult, one child. Yeah, not a family of four.
Anything else? I kind of heard from Ron that he would like some time to digest all of this
I'm fine with that.
and wait until Monday, Ron?
Yeah, I guess just one comment about the 20%, and I'll let Amy, I'm sorry, but.
Oh, that's okay. And you mentioned, conversation on total compensation and that over the past 5 years, I think you said that cost of living had gone up 20%. And, we recognize that, not arguing that certainly the cost of living has increased. Just did want to say that based on the information that we had talked about previously here, the investment in compensation, that is total compensation of the district over the past 4 years has exceeded 20%. When we talk about the investment in actual salary, talk about the investment in additional benefits, as in health insurance, that also has increased 20%, so over 20%. So the district has made efforts to keep up with that, understanding that all of that isn't, that people don't necessarily see it in their actual paychecks. But I did just want to talk about some of the information that we have presented before and to speak to the efforts on both parts to try to address what needs are across the district, both for staff and for students.
It was 5, 4, okay. All right, Shay.
And I don't discount that, Amy, by any means, because I think that the past couple of years, we've worked really hard at this table. But I'm gonna tell you, benefits doesn't help us at the grocery store, like the money that we need to receive to pay rent and do the things that we need to do as teachers. So I don't discount anything you said, I completely agree with it, but compensation, salary is really important.
Okay, anybody else? Ron, you gonna give it another try, or?
Yeah, obviously, I just respectfully disagree about the benefits. I think there's a value to that people don't put enough emphasis on, because I really give the district a lot of credit for the insurance task force and the work that they've done over the years to keep those increases down. There are places that are seeing 9, 10, 12% increases in their contribution. And I think you have to take into account that because of the work you've done, and I credit that with wellness and all those kinds of things, we have not had to ask for more contribution from the employees. So I feel like the insurance task force needs to get some credit for that as well.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, if there's nothing else.
I guess before we go, since we were adding some comments, I just want to again reiterate that we do have a limited amount of resources again, and I know we had to meet those common interests. And so to go back to Amy's presentation from the beginning, whatever we put on the table here is due to, in part, some of the savings that were realized over the last couple months and the fund balance that we have now. So we're not expecting any increase, and hopefully not asking they're not asking for us to have less than we did last year. So that has to be taken into consideration when we, obviously with fiscal responsibility and sustainability, that has to be into account.
Okay. Kurt?
I almost said this in my final thought. It didn't make it to the minutes, but we understand that. One place that you have $20 million is in your salary line item that is underspent. According to the data that I have here, for FY '25, the district budgeted $384 million for teacher salaries. And if I annualize the data that I received from you all on the 14th of April, the annual spend looks like it's $363. That's about $21 million. We have open positions. We have the million that was saved here, 20 million that was saved here. It adds up pretty quickly.
If we adjourn at this time, remember, as you look over these options, look at your interest as well. And if you come back Monday with more options, that's fine.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
What's the record?
108 for just transportation.
7, for record 7.
I have an option.
Amy's tired of typing.
We need chips and queso on Monday.
So with that,
Thank you all.
thank you and enjoy your weekend.
John, thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.